Welcome to Modern Management of the Older Adult, brought to you by the Institute of Clinical Excellence.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the MMOA podcast brought to you by the Institute of Clinical Excellence. I'll be your host this evening. My name's Ellen Seppi, and I'm coming to you live from Littleton, Colorado. Tonight, our topic is going to be on older adult safety, both the unfortunate ageist bias against older adults, our responsibilities as clinicians, and what we can do to help older adults stay successful. So, to start out, unfortunately, there's a bias that older adult drivers are less safe than those who are younger. And this is untrue. Older adult drivers are much less likely to involve themselves in risky behaviors like drinking and driving, driving late at night, driving under the influence of other drugs, driving when they're underslept, and driving when they don't feel confident. Older adult drivers have a plethora and decades of experience being safe drivers, which should be acknowledged. The unfortunate truth is that car accidents throughout the lifespan only increase in severity. Unfortunately, older adults are more likely to succumb to injuries associated with fragility during car accidents. Thankfully, a lot of older adults are still able to drive, which provides a lot of community access and life space mobility. In fact, 82% of men 70 and older are still driving, while unfortunately women who are 70 and older, only 55% of them are still driving. This self-limiting driving increases with time, and 85-year-old men are only 55% likely to still be driving. With that in mind, it's our job as clinicians to monitor driving safety and potential concerns to safety of both our patients and the general public. This is a tough line to walk for a lot of clinicians. Occupational therapists, exercise professionals, physicians, nurses, physical therapists all have responsibility to monitor different aspects of what makes a safe driver. This isn't just one person's job. This is our job as a team of healthcare providers. Older adult driver safety is multifactorial and complex. And contrary to popular belief, just because you're older doesn't mean that you have to go through routine driving safety assessments. In fact, states differ. The laws and likelihood that states are going to require drivers to go through a driving test routinely is not guaranteed. So it's our job as clinicians to ensure that our older patients are safe from every aspect. Not only is it our job to ensure that we're preventing the loss of that skill, but that we're monitoring real-time potential threats to safety and then counseling our patients and discussing options for transportation and life space mobility when safe driving is no longer an option. So, it's our job to discuss driving safety. Let's talk about what makes up a safe driver. If you think about it as a skill, driving requires range of motion of the neck, the shoulders, the fingers, the ankles. It requires reaction time. It requires cognitive capacity for wayfinding and the ability to perform a motor task while attending to road signs and other traffic. Driving is a complex task that really offers that person a lot of social interaction and freedom in their environment. It's easy to tell older adults that they'd just be better off driving. How would you feel if somebody told that to you? How would you feel if somebody told you that you should give up the keys to keep other people safe? With that in mind, it's very important for us as clinicians to keep in mind that this is a sensitive topic that threatens an older adult's safety and independence. We have to keep that in mind as we're making these assessments. So, to keep in mind, this is a multifactorial assessment, but there are options for us to do assessments as clinicians and relay those findings to other healthcare providers to make appropriate referrals. So the Safe Drive app is really a great tool to ensure that our older adults are safe throughout their lifespan. The Safe Drive app looks at basically a flow sheet to look at the older adults' current driving abilities, any changes in their safety, their cognitive function, their medical history, their vision, their range of motion, their reaction time, and basically creates an algorithm or decision-making chart to determine if that older adult should still be driving. And in fact, I have a printed version right here. But a lot of this material is in the app, and it includes a questionnaire that you can email to your patient to answer at home. It's important to know what things to look for when discussing driving safety. I'm going to be honest. When I first started thinking that this was something I should talk with my patients about, I did it really wrong. I did a MoCA test, I looked at neck range of motion, and I shot from the hip and told a lot of patients that they should be concerned about driving without really objective information about other important components, and definitely without concern about how damaging that could be to somebody's life-space mobility. So some things that might clue you in as to whether or not your patient might need your help in addressing their driving safety. If your patient is coming in expressing frustration and finding the clinic routinely, or finding the destination, difficulty in anger and frustration with road changes, using poor judgment, not yielding appropriately, having routine car accidents or speeding tickets, difficulty maintaining alertness or trouble judging distances, cutting off other drivers, or failing to obey traffic laws. These should all spark your curiosity as to whether or not this driver is appropriately equipped for the road. Going through the clinical assessment of driving related skills, the CADRAS, is something that occupational therapists who are driving rehabilitation specialists routinely do. But all of the tools in that assessment are things that we do in the clinic pretty regularly. Assessing vision or encouraging patient to go to a vision appointment routinely to make sure that their vision is safe is the first step. Looking at cognition using the MoCA, doing the clock drawing skill test, looking at wayfinding tasks, and comparing that to norms can also be an important indicator of cognitive health and cognition. Other components would be how quickly somebody can walk. So unfortunately, not only is slow walking speed related to hospitalization, falls, change in independence, but it's also related to driving accidents. And not just the timed up and go, but looking at how fast somebody can walk when they're walking quickly. The rapid walk test is another important indicator to see if walking quickly is possible for an older adult driver. Looking at vision, looking at gait speed, also assessing important cervical range of motion, looking at neck mobility, grip strength, finger mobility, shoulder mobility, dorsiflexion strength, dorsiflexion range of motion, and plantar flexion strength and range of motion. Those are all assessment tools that are our responsibility. So, once we find that an older adult might have some concern, do we just tell them that they should stop driving to keep everybody else safe? No. It's important that as we're counseling older adults that we keep in mind that this is a sensitive topic and they might have some resistance and anger to this discussion. It's important to appeal to older adult drivers' sense of responsibility, knowing that this decision could impact their life, their lifespan, and that of others, and that it's their responsibility as a driver to keep themselves and others safe. It's also important to relay this decision and the improvement of these skills to appropriate professionals. So knowing that a driving rehabilitation specialist would probably be the best person to refer to is a great place to start. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of DRSs in the United States, but thankfully, there are a lot of other driving schools. In my community in Littleton, Colorado, there are driving schools for young adults and young drivers to learn how to drive. And then there are also programs for older adults to regain their skills and their confidence. I had a patient who recently had a stroke, and he paid $200 to enroll in a driving safety course for older adults through a local driving school. And that gave him and his wife so much confidence to know that he was safe to drive. Before he went to that program, I looked at his gait speed, I looked at his neck range of motion, I looked at his strength, his reaction time. Those were important things for him to know that he could be confident with just the pure driving assessment. It's important to advocate for patients and recognize too that if they have deficits, they might not be permanent and they could be worked on if we attend to the right things. So, in closing, it's our job as clinicians to recognize that the assumption that older people shouldn't drive is ageist and wrong. Older adults are much more likely to be safe drivers than younger adults. Unfortunately, the consequences of frailty affect drivers who are older and the likelihood that they would have an injurious motor vehicle accident. It's important for us as clinicians to pick up on the signs of potential driving errors and a lack of safety and be able to do the appropriate clinical assessments to make sure that our bases are covered, not just for now, but for future as well. Advocating for regular exercise, strength training, exercise for range of motion, and manual interventions can not only address driving impairments in the moment, but also address future driving impairments and keep somebody on the road safely for years to come. It's our job as clinicians to also relay this referral to the appropriate person, whether or not that's a driving rehabilitation specialist or a driving school. It's important for us to have empathy and recognize that the loss of the ability to drive could be devastating for somebody's confidence, for their ability to access their community, and their happiness and quality of life. So, the next time you think through recommending a patient to stop driving, pause, consider how they might feel, consider restoring the aspects of driving that might not be safe, and be on their team. Thanks, guys. So nice to have you here tonight with me, and hopefully you'll be keeping your older adults on the road for years to come, because I know I love to drive, and I can't wait to get back on the road, and I hope that you are there for your patients to keep them there too. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the MMOA podcast. If you found this helpful, please share with someone that could benefit. And if you're looking for more practical content to help you better serve older adults, head over to www.mmoa.online, where you can learn more about our free resources, our community, continuing education courses, and our certification. Once again, that's www.mmoa.online. Thanks for listening.